Okay, so let's first look at how do you draw the flowcharts and the pseudocode that I've asked you for the main. I haven't asked you to do it for every method. I've just said for the main method, right? You did do flowcharts and pseudocode with me last week, if you remember, and I polished it and put it back on Blackboard. So it's there. But for example, if I'm only asking for main and main is calling methods, then how do I do it? And it's again on Blackboard. It's already posted on Blackboard. So if I was writing pseudocode for main, I forgot my start, so it's a 0. Sorry about that. I didn't want to change everything. What you're doing is basically this. For example, I'm taking in two numbers and I'm adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing them, and then showing the results. You're doing the same thing. You're taking a student number, you are taking the age of the person, then you are taking height and weight. So you have 4 inputs, and then you calculate 2 things, the heart rate, and the BMI. Then you check if the BMI is within this range, and so on. And I've very clearly said, please think of the right type of data you want to use and also their sizes. So are you okay with a byte, with a short, with an integer, with a float, with a double? BMI, I have given you an example, and you can see in BMI is a float number, so you should declare it as a float number. Okay. The formula itself, don't forget, everything integer, the answer will be integer. So you have to be careful, how do I manipulate that? So if any one of the operands in a formula is real, so 703 is 703.0, everything changes to float. Okay, so you have to think a little carefully, because, and again, I've given you examples. Weight can be from this to this. I've seen heights, so everything is there. You can see the data. Age is 25, 50 or whatever. So you're saying, oh, that's an int, right? I'm saying height is the shortest man ever. I've given you the tallest man ever. So you're seeing the height and you're saying, oh, that's a float. So you can see things and you can guess what the type of data that you need is. So there is emphasis on that. So I will give some marks for that in the rubric, and we'll discuss it today. Okay. So here is the pseudocode for main. Main is basically, if you think, is nothing but it's calling all the methods, and exactly that's what I'm doing. So I have a start. And last week when we did it, remember we did the loop 5 times. I think you did it 10 times. You said, let's run the program 10 times. So it really doesn't matter how many times you run, but I've kind of shown you an if. Will you necessarily need it in your assignment? I don't think I've said run the program more than once. I haven't. So you don't need it, but at least you have to know how to write it in pseudocode. So this is, I'm doing a while here. I'm showing you like a for loop here, which is running it 5 times. So what do? I start. I set a counter to 1, where counter is your counting. You can call it whatever you like. The words set, call, input, output are kind of conventionally used in pseudocode, though pseudocode is just English. You can write it as long as you write correct, grammatically clear English, it's okay, right? So what I've done is I've tried to use those words that make sense, and you can kind of copy them and not think of, oh, how do I write this and how do I do this? So if you're initializing something, you can use the set word. Okay. So what it says is set counter to 1. Why do I need a counter? Because I'm running my program 5 times here. In your case, I think last time we did it 10 times. Then what do? I say if the counter is greater than 5, that means I've done my job. It's done. I go to 14 and the program stops. But if it is not less than, it is still less than or equal to 5, I call the display purpose method to display the purpose. I call input number to input number 1. I call input number to input number 2. And you can go English. You can say first number, second number. You don't have to mention the name of the variables and the type. It's not required. Some people do, but it's not required. Pseudocode is just English. It's trying to write, you're trying to put your thoughts on paper so that then you can convert it into Java. So you could even have said first number, like normal English, second number, and it would be fine. And we are not even talking about types here. We are just kind of thinking, this is what we want to do. So I call the input number method. And again, you don't have to put this round brackets or whatever. You can simply say call method input number to input number 1. No details are required. It's just your thoughts. Then you call it again to input the second number. So you've read both the numbers. Then what do? You compute the sum. You calculate or compute the sum. How? By calling that add numbers method, right? Again, you could just have said compute sum using the method add numbers, and it's fine. Because I need to know what you have to pass. I need to know what you have to return. So it can be as simple with nothing, no details at all, or this is kind of balanced. It's not absolute no information, and it's not Java. So it's kind of balanced, right? So I've said compute sum and you call the add numbers. And as I said, you could just replace it by saying compute sum by calling the add numbers method. And that would do also, right? So you could replace, you can kind of go, you can go different ways. So if you like, I'll kind of do, instead of 4, you can say this, you can say get. Here, like normal English, you can put it like this. Now the name, why am I mentioning the name of the methods? Because it comes kind of handy. I kind of understand it, right? It's easy to say, oh, and again, you can change the names. So you can call it like this. You can do it here. You can also say something like this. You can say compute or calculate, whatever you like. Usually it's compute because calculation is being done in the add numbers, right? So compute sum by calling the method add numbers. That's it. That's more than enough. I don't have to know what parameters are being passed. I don't have to know what the return type is. You're just trying to put the steps in your mind, right? So you can replace this by call method input number to get first number. You don't even have to say number 1. You can say compute sum by calling the method add numbers. So you're not even using first number or second number. Then you can, I mean, I've kind of, as I said, I've done it in a balanced approach. I've not gone basic, and I haven't definitely not gone Java. Right? So whatever works for you. It's just a pseudo code written in English. Then compute difference, compute product, compute quotient. Then I say compute remainder. Then I say display all the results, call display output. And again, I've passed the parameters. You needn't. You can just say it like this. You can say call display output method to display all results. Here. Right? Even that can be written. So you can go as English like. And then what do? I increment counter up by 1. So what it means is increase your counter by 1. So I started with 1. Now it becomes 2. I check. Is the counter of value less than or equal to 5? If it is, go back to 3 and repeat. Right? Go back to 3 and repeat. So when will it stop? Oh, okay. So if it is greater than 5, it will automatically go to the next statement and it will stop. So that's a loop. It's showing you a loop. So you started your loop from here. You set it to 1. It's like the for initialize condition increment. You start with 1. You check the condition. If the condition is false, get out. Stop. If the condition is true, go and do everything. Increment your counter. Remember the third part. Increment it. If it is less than or equal to 5, you go back to 3 and repeat the process. If it is not greater than or less than equal to 5, it will automatically come to this stop. Right? So I've used the go-to. There is a go-to statement in most languages, but do not use go-to statements in code. It's a big no-no. It's really poor programming practice. And it has been proved over decades, 25 years back, almost, that go-to less programming is what we need. And since that day onwards, programmers have stopped using go-to. So languages may have go-to, and I think even Java has it, but we never ever use it, right? So I had started doing my PhD, my research in go-to less programming, and I had proved that programs can be written without go-to, and the ones that are written without go-to are more efficient than one written with go-to. Because think, it's kind of confusing. Go there, come back here, go there. So it's kind of confusing. There are other ways of doing it. Right? So we do not use go-to statements in language, but in pseudocode, there is no other way I can write it. So go-to less programming is the motto, right? And it's been proved. So you don't even have to think about it. And nobody uses it, nobody. But pseudocode, I can do anything. That's the only way I can write it. So you can replace by these comments, the ones that I've said, you can replace the statement and kind of make it more easy for yourself if you like. But all it is showing you are the steps that you're following in main. So your main will very much look like this without even the counter. You will say whatever method you're calling to get your number, whatever method you're calling to get the person's age, height, weight, then you're computing the average heart rate or something. Then you're computing the range of the heart rate, and then you're computing BMI, and then you're displaying all results. Done. Right? So nowhere do you need to show the parameter list or anything. You can call your variables whatever you like in pseudocode, but meaningful. Height, weight, age, name, number are meaningful numbers. Right? So as long as it is normal English, grammatically correct, simple sentences, that's all you need. And you can, and when you write pseudocode, then you can write a pseudocode for the add numbers method, then a pseudocode for subtract numbers method, and so on and so forth. But I've only asked of the main method, and I'm showing you of the main method, right? That's what is expected. It won't even take you 10 minutes. And it will be 5 marks, okay? So as long as I can read it and understand what you're doing, I'm okay. I don't need any declaration. I'm not looking for naming conventions here. It's just normal English like we would talk to each other. But I have used some words that make sense, like set is initialize, call is invoking a method, right? The word method, the name of methods. Again, you needn't even write names. You can just say call a method to add numbers. You can even just say that. Say compute sum by calling the method. Calling even this you can replace by calling a method. You don't even have to mention names. So you're just putting your thoughts on paper in the sequence that will be converted into Java. And beginners do it. So when I learned programming and it was new for me, I did it. We had to write pseudocode and it made sense. Then I could say, oh, that's what I want to do. And it will help you a lot if you are a beginner. If you're already doing programming for a while, then maybe it's not very useful because then we do it in our head and we type it. But I would definitely recommend writing pseudocode for a few programs. Okay, so that's the pseudocode. That's what I'm expecting of you. And I'll put this again on Blackboard with the comments, just so that you can see, oh, it can be written as this also. Okay, and again, mentioning the names of the methods or the variables, number 1, number 2, add numbers, subtract numbers, is just making it clear in my head. Oh, when I'm adding the numbers, I'm giving it the 2 numbers. When I'm subtracting the numbers, I'm giving it the 2 numbers. So it's kind of putting things in my head, and I know that's how I have to do it, right? And as I said, even this will do. You can just write it like this, compute sum by calling a method. You don't even have to mention the name. Even this will do. But the thing is, if your pseudocode is balanced, changing it into Java is much easier. So you've already thought of names of variables. You've already thought of name of methods. You've kind of thought these are the parameters it needs. So it's easy to kind of convert it into Java or any other programming language. So it's just your thoughts put on paper is what is pseudocode. Looks like code, but is not code. It's false or fake code. Therefore, it's called pseudocode. Okay. There is another way of doing it. You can also write algorithms, but algorithms become a little more programming style. Like you would write it. Instead of saying set counter to 1, you will say counter is assigned the value 1. So you'll use the operator, right? And then when you say, you will use the word call and you will give parameters and everything. So algorithm is the same thing. If you hear of algorithm is also steps to be taken in the sequence they have to be taken. But it's not as English-like as pseudocode. It's a little more language oriented, right? So instead of just if I had to write my add numbers method, I would kind of use the plus symbol, use the equal symbol, and then say number 1 plus number 2. So I would start using symbols, whereas in pseudocode, I will say add number 1 and number 2. That's the difference. Okay. So algorithms are also another way of putting your thoughts on paper and then converting it. But it becomes more English. It becomes more geared towards programming. You have started using operators. So I don't even want to do it. Normal English, add, subtract, multiply, divide, things like that. You can use those words as long as you know what you're doing. Okay. Now, if I want to convert this into a flow chart, and we did flow charts last week also, but last week there was no calling of methods. This time it is. So you start, right? Normal. I'm again using Visio. You can use whatever you like. You can do it by hand if you like and take a picture of it and put it on Blackboard. It's up to you, right? If you want to do it by hand, just do it by hand. But Visio, if you don't have Visio, there is Draw.io, which is, I've seen it has a free trial for a month. You just need it for a week. So that's another one. I'm used to Visio because I've been using it for a while, so I'm okay with it, but entirely up to you. What flow, you'll have many free flow chart options on the internet. Choose whatever you like. The symbols don't change. Okay, so I start. I say counter is given the value 1. So I'm kind of converting my pseudocode into here. Absolutely. If you kind of think of it, if I put my pseudocode here, that's exactly what I'm doing, right? So start, set counter to 1. Then the next statement is the decision-making statement. If counter is greater than 5, go to 14. At the condition I've written in the opposite way, you could have written it greater than 5. So what I've said is if counter is less than or equal to 5, true, do some stuff. But if it is false, then you stop. And I take it to stop. Here, I bring it to stop. Right? So if I really just wanted to match this one, I would just change it. I would go, just to match the pseudocode, I would say is counter's value greater than 5. And here, instead of true, I would go false. And instead of false here, I would go true. Here, right? So this is the decision-making statement. This is the decision-making symbol. It's checking. It has 3 outputs. Notice how it has 3, 1, 2, and 3. I've used 2 of them because I'm only saying, are you greater than or equal, or are you less? So to match this, I've changed it. If the counter of value is greater than 5 and it is true, right? So I write true, I stop. I take the arrow to the stop, right? And Visio, you can kind of put something on this symbol, and you don't even have to drag it. If you bring it here, notice how it says, oh, where do you want to go next? So you can even do this. It's much easier. Otherwise, all you do is drag and drop. Okay, so just to match whatever I've done here. What did I say here then? I said display the purpose, which was 3. And notice now notice the symbol. I'm not using processing. Processing means doing it right there, right? I am using this sub process, which is saying call the method. So this calling a method is a different symbol. Doing it at place is a different symbol. So this is doing it at place. This is the process symbol. You're doing it right here. You're not calling a method. Whereas this is a sub process. Notice here it is sub process. So I'm saying call display purpose. Then I'm saying number 1 is equal to get the first number, get the second number, sum it up, find the difference, find the product, find the quotient, find the remainder, display the result. This is just not in sequence, and therefore the arrow is kind of not straight. It's not necessary to be straight. Then I increment counter up by 1, and I check again. I take it back to checking again. Are you greater than 5? Get out. Are you less than or equal to 5? Do it again. So there it is, right? So if I kind of, though you won't be able to read it, but that's my flowchart. So look, all it has is sub-processing symbols and the if and the for. So you have kind of made for using an if, but the loops, the arrows are telling you where do I go and I go back, where do I go and I go back, right? Because for is an iterative statement, but it is checking condition. So it checks initialize, check the condition is true, do it, condition is false, get out, increment or decrement, right? So that's the flow chart for the main, and yours will be less complicated because you don't have your decision. I haven't said run the main for 5 times. I didn't. I should have, then it would be a practice it, but that's okay. We'll do fors and whiles for a couple of weeks still in more detail when you come back. So I'm not worried about it. Okay, so this again, the small change I made was just to match your pseudocode. I changed this condition. Without the condition, the one that is on Blackboard is still the correct one, but I'll give this option also. I'll just do a save as so that you can just have another option. So main 2, I'll just call it main 2. And I'll put this also on Blackboard for you. Right? So you just see that I've changed the condition and the false and the true. So, and if you needed to do extra checking, oh, this and this and this or this, all you'll do is create more decision box. These are called decision box. So all these are here. Process means computation. Decision means taking a decision, if statement, start and end, the start and the stop symbols. This is input and output. right? And so if I had to show add numbers or whatever, then I would use them there. And we've done this last week. I've done it with you last week. So, and this is subprocess. Subprocess means calling a method. That's it. I mean, again, it should take you 5 or 10 minutes to draw the flowchart. So these are the easy parts. Okay. Okay. Now let's come back and refresh your memories to what we were doing last week. And as I refresh your memories, I will also, since I've said, oh, think about the right type of data, I'll also kind of talk about that. So last week, we were working on a program that was asking for the user's number. And we had talked about, oh, why are you taking number to be a string? And I had said, though it is a student number, they are not numbers in a sense, right? You don't do math with them. You don't compare two student numbers. You don't add two student numbers. So same with phone number. Phone number is a number, but you never do any math with it. So though they look like numbers, if you can, just make them strings. And the advantage of making numbers that are not actually numbers to strings is that then you can use a huge variety of methods with the string. You can find out the length of it. You can extract the first 3 digits. You can check whether a particular character is occurring in the string. Is the substring Anju inside that string? So many things. String has lots of methods. So using string is just easier. And for human beings also, text is much easier than numbers, right? So I created my number, my student number as a string. So now when I am asking you for commenting, please see that you comment well. And many of you have lost marks in commenting in the first program. Don't do it again. My solution is already there. Don't do it again. So here you can say the student number. It very clearly tells me, though my names are so neat, but whatever. The final mark of the student in the course. So you're telling the use of each of the grade assigned to the student. And I did take booleans and characters because I wanted you to know about these. And this is the status, which is basically, you can kind of say pass or a fail in the course. Okay. Now, let's talk about, since I've said right type and right size. The student final mark, I've said, will lie between 0 to 100. So int is quite big for 0 to 100. What other type will work better? Remember your 4 flavors: byte, short, integer, and long are the 4 flavors of integer in Java. Integer is 32 bits. All I want to save is basically the final mark, and the final mark will be between 0 to 100. The percentage is always between 0 to 100, right? Unless you're really, there are some bonus marks. So that's the mark. So do you think I can replace int by something else, a better type, a better size, I must say? It has to be an int, but a better size. What would be good enough? No. We're not talking constants. Constants values never change. I'm talking about type of the data. I don't want to make it a float, definitely. Byte, just byte will do. There, because remember byte, it goes from minus 128 to 127. 0 to 100 is in the range. So that's what I've asked you in the assignment. Choose the right type and size of data. So age, I don't need an int. Byte will be good enough, right? Actually, an unsigned byte would be good for a mark and an age, but we don't have unsigned in Java for the basic data types. So I can't do nothing about it. But I would go with byte now. If I go byte there, I can go byte here. And I can go byte here. And I can go byte here. I'm trying to now also bring your attention or draw your attention to flavors of int. So there was nothing wrong in int, but I've said, oh, why don't you use a smaller data method? Right? Why don't you use a smaller size? So that's good enough. We had talked about class variables, and what I had said is, since input is something that is not changed by anything, it's not a variable that is being changed, it's just a kind of an object you're using, you can declare it at class level. Though declaring global variables, as they're called, because world level, Java doesn't call them global, declaring class variables in an application is a big no-no. Because what does it do? It keeps it open for the whole world to change. All the methods can change it. But we are okay with constants because constant is a constant, cannot be changed. And we are okay with objects like input because it's something that you're trying to read and you need it in 4 methods in your assignment. And I can use it 1,000 times if I want in my code. So where do you declare your variables? I've already said. Think about it locally or globally, right? Constants, locally is if can do, but globally is just the convention, because constants are those variables whose values never change. Nobody can touch it. None of the methods can destroy it. None of the methods can change it. So we are safe. So when you declare variables at the class level in an application, think of, is it safe to do? Do I need to do it? So if I need the constant many times, it's better to just put it there, right? If I need the input, something to read input, just put it there. So just put it and everybody uses it. So usually in a classroom, you'll see they have sharpeners, they put it on the wall, and anybody who needs to go and sharpen the pencil, they do. It's the same thing. So you have a pencil and all of us are using the same pencil. So I've gone from int to byte just because it is better. And I'll complete I'll change this. This program takes a student number and file and mark and assigns a grade to the student. And we had also changed it to status. It assigns, oops. Remember we had started talking. We had also started talking about pass and fail. I don't know what else to call it. I can find of a better word. If you can, tell me and I can change it. So as you kind of develop your program, if you know what you're doing, definitely you will write it before. But since I was kind of just saying, okay, we'll do it as it goes. There it is. Right? And this version today, we are kind of going 16th October. So you can add it or you can say October 9 and then you can put a comma. And then though I would have done a save as and saved it and left that alone. I can do that if you like. It's not a big deal. So we are still working on it. So that's where versioning comes in. I wouldn't put the 2 dates, but that's what it is. Okay. So now you know how to comment your variables also, right? Just to tell me what each variable does. Then display the purpose of the program, we called it. Get the student number, we called it. Get the student's final mark, we called the method. Check if student passed the course. Now here, pass is okay. It's not as if it's a wrong thing. But if you like a better name like check status or check, I mean, I can't say pass or fail. You can change the name, right? So if names don't make a lot of sense to you, you can change them. Nothing stops you. I've said, please use meaningful names, right? So I've just changed it to check status. And then I've commented this out because we were not able to do it. And we'll see when we are able to get to it, we'll do it. Okay. So again, check status is just a name I changed from pass to check status because it's checking. Did you pass or did you fail? So I've changed the name from pass. Again, just showing you how things can be done. Okay, so here, and we'll have to complete this here. We'll have to change this. This program takes the student number and final mark. So this is what I'm expecting you to do. I've said I want you to put the display the purpose as soon as the program begins. I'm just copying the purpose again. I just did what I did there. Exactly did what I did in the purpose. I made some changes there. I made some changes here. You want to kind of put it in the middle, put it in the middle by just kind of using your own There. The grade is usually put first and then the status, so we'll go and status. There. Right? So I've just changed it because I changed the purpose. So that's your display purpose. Of course, it will not be this. It will be something that you've written. Now you're taking input. So I'm calling it get student number. This method accepts the student number from the user and returns the student number. I haven't said they have to be Java doc comments. You can use normal comments if you like. In BlueJ, it's easy just to do it, but I'm not expecting you necessarily to write Java doc comments. You can use your the normal line comments or block comments, but you should tell me what the method does, right? So that's what I'm telling you. This method accepts the student number from the user, and that's commenting. Otherwise, how will I know what the method does? I take a local variable. And remember, local variables have no value. Just for your information, you don't have to write this for me when you comment it, but this is for you to know. I prompt the user, I input the student number, and I return it. That's what I'm expecting of you in terms of commenting, right? That's more than enough. But you have to get into the habit, and you can use my comments, but change them, okay? But change them. What is the next method? This method accepts the student's final mark. Oh, we have to now make changes here. Remember, we said this is a byte now. So it will return a byte. And here is where I want to show you something. So the student number makes it more personalized. Please enter the final mark between 0 to 100, kind of tells the user that, oh, please give a number between 0 to 100. Now, instead of next int, you will use next byte. And the other things remain the same. Right? So we've changed from int to byte because in the assignment I said use the right type. The type was right and the right size. So you're thinking age of a person, and I've told you 1 to something. I looked up Guinness records and kind of gave you ideas so that you know what to use. Okay. Now, if the final mark of the student is not between 0 and 100, does the program complain? Let's see. What isn't it like here? Oh, return final mark. Final mark is a byte. Change it to byte. That's what we did. Okay. Oh, the student final mark will be a byte here also. So wherever you have int, maybe you could have just done a global change. There. A byte was coming in. The final mark is a byte just for the heck of it. For the heck of it, because we are thinking like programmers. Errors were found. Control K. What is the error? Cannot find symbol method. Oh, we called it check status now. Here we called it pass. So it will tell you the errors. We called it check status. Again, meaningful names. Pass was not a bad name, but since you were checking whether the student passed or failed, check status would be better, right? So please don't give me names like Stuno, which you are thinking is student number. Please don't give me names like ABC. They make no sense to me. And this time I have said meaningful names and follows convention. In the first assignment, I hadn't, and I got all kind of names, right? And I don't want that. Because again, if you're thinking like a programmer and you're trying to convey your message to me, who's again another programmer, or to other programmers in your group with whom you're working in a real-time environment, in a job, they won't call you and ask, oh, what's that variable? What are you using for? So if you call something student number, I think any programmer knows that's the student number. If you're calling something like grade, I think every programmer knows what it is. But if you start calling it stu-no, you're thinking stu is for student and no is for number, don't expect people to appreciate it. They won't, right? It's like the same with you. Your name is nice, beautiful, and I like it, but Yolanda, I start calling y'all. No, that doesn't look good. Doesn't make sense. And she may mind it. So it's the same thing. Meaningful names are important.
Can we put the initial, for example, rate of hertz ROF?
Come again?
Can we use the first letter of a sentence? For example, rate of hertz.
Rate of health.
ROF.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. Because again, R doesn't mean rate, right? So don't go with it. Avoid using short forms like info or something. It doesn't take time. It takes less than a second. And in the long run, it gives you 1,000 times the benefit. And let me tell you, maintenance of programs takes 60% of the cost of when it was built. And maintenance is easy if the code is clean and clear. Because you're working for a company today, you leave, somebody else comes in and he or she is maintaining the code. And if your names are not making sense, that guy is not going to leave you. Day and night is going to curse you. Right? And how long does it take? Nothing. And you'll see, as you use better IDEs and you start R, it will auto-complete it for you. It will give you a list and you can choose. You don't even have to type. So in TextPad or in BlueJ, I haven't tried it. Maybe in BlueJ also, if I start doing, I'm not sure, but if I start doing F and do a control space bar, so it said there are no completions, but see, I did an F and I said control space bar. Let's try it. No, so it's not helping me, but all good. See, so it's now trying. When I do a control space bar, it has started trying doing it. Oh, this is where I find the final mark, but it's not looking at the local final mark. So in most IDEs that are used at the industry level, remember BlueJ is more for students, right? At most, all of them that I've used, I shouldn't even say most, all of them I've used have auto completion factor. So once you declare them, as soon as you want to type them again, you start it and it will complete it for you. It will give you a list if there is any ambiguity. So suppose final has final mark, final something, it will give you the list and you choose from there. You don't even have to type it again. So why think of short names? Names that don't convey a meaning. Okay, so you only declare it once, you only have to type it once, and then after that it's auto completion everywhere in all IDEs. So don't think of going unclear, think of going clear. Okay, that's what you should do. Yes, you can avoid words like off or in or from, like prepositions can be avoided, but if it makes sense, put them. So instead of rate of heart, we can say heart rate, right? So I've avoided the rate off, I've avoided off, and it still makes sense, heart rate. So start and avoid prepositions because they make the name longer. Just, it still conveys the meaning. Heart rate still conveys the meaning instead of rate of heart. So avoid prepositions. But again, as I'm telling you, all IDEs will auto-complete it for you. So you only have to type it once. Then start typing and it will do it. So why bother, right? So don't go small names. I wouldn't. From my experience as a programmer, I wouldn't do it. The rest, of course, is up to you, right? I mean, all you will do is maybe lose a mark at the end of the day. But if you start with good programming habits, they'll stay forever. And I'm hoping you are into this field and that's what you want to be. You want to make this your career. So I would emphasize it. And that's my job, to give you good programming practices from what I have learned in the industry. When I used to work in the industry. I do no longer, but things haven't changed. Okay, so let's see how it works. So let's compile it. And what I want to emphasize is this. So it's asking for a student number. Oh, where are you? What happened to my terminal? There you are. Okay, so it's asking for a student number. Why don't I see it completely? That is really strange. What have I done that it's kind of becoming so odd? Let's try to do it this way and then open it again. Let's close it for a minute. No, it's not doing that. Very odd. And I can't do anything. As soon as I try to maximize or minimize it, it kind of goes that way. That's not the maximized size. I must have messed it something in the options. I mean, you cannot blame the computer ever. It's always the human being. Can I go right? No, I cannot. That is really strange. Did I do something in my options? Let's try that. The program is still running, of course. Somewhere there it is still running. Let's close that. I don't know. I don't know why this is happening. Like I cannot see all the message, but anyway, so I'm going to enter the student number QW123, whatever. And it says, please enter a mark between 0 to 100. And notice the personalization. And I've asked you, pass the name or the student number or whatever, the patient, whatever, and then personalize your message. So all I've done is I've passed it to the second method, and now it says, please enter mark for student number Q1. That's called personalization. Okay. So now it says 0 to 100, but it accepts -12. It accepts it. And now I want you to ensure that it does not accept it, not accept it. I think this is running for 5 times. Is it in a loop? No, it's not in a loop, is it? No, it's not in a loop. Okay. Or maybe it is, I forget. Anyway, now let's work on this. How can I force the user to give me a value between 0 and 100? You had a question, Ben?
I did have a question, but it wasn't. Do you want a for loop or a while loop?
For where?
For looping our code?
I didn't ask for looping your code in the assignment. No, I didn't. The looping is here, right? I didn't ask to run the program more than once. I forgot about it. And that's okay because I'll see a looping here. Okay, now let me tell you how to force the user. Keep in mind, there is a rule called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you don't validate your input, your answers are going to be wrong. So I'm saying, please enter a number between 0 to 100, and you're giving me -12. I'm accepting it. The logic says if it is greater than or equal to 60, it is a pass, otherwise it is a fail. So the logic is still okay, but the input is wrong. -12 should not be accepted. So now you have to learn how to validate your input, because as I said, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You give garbage in, you'll always get garbage out. So error input validation is another major issue in programming. You have to learn how to validate it. So we will start step by step. I'll do one small step today, and then we'll do little more after the reading. So for now, I'll only do first step. I'll ensure that the user gives a value between 0 to 100, and it's a number. So I'm not checking, oh, it's Anju. I'm not checking it's 12.5. Those are also wrong inputs. All I'm checking is it's a value, an integer value between 0 to 100. So as long as you give me in that range, I'm okay. That's first step to validation. The second step to be, you can't input a string. You can't input a real number. That would be my second step. But second step needs more. So we'll not do the second step, we'll do one step. And that's what I've asked about age. I've said age must lie between 1 to whatever. So what is the logic? Think about it. Ask the user, it's incorrect. Ask again, it's incorrect. Ask again, it's incorrect. Ask again, it's correct. Stop. So what are you doing? You're trying to do a job a number of times. You don't know how many. The user may be as good as me and do the right job the first time. I follow instructions always. I always follow instructions. Anytime, any small thing I have to use, I'll open up the manual because I don't want to mess up. And that's too extra. Or you may just be daring and say, I don't care. And you just use something without even reading the manual. So you may have users that are not even paying attention to your prompt. You're saying, please input your mark, and they're inputting -12, -9, 123, whatever. So your first step is to check that it is between 0 to 100. So you don't know how many times the user will not listen to you. So you can't use a for loop. You can't say, do this 10 times. What if he still doesn't give you the right value? So is there another way, another loop, another iterative statement in Java that allows you to check? Did you do the right job? Good. Go ahead. Did you do the wrong job? Do it again. Did you do the wrong job? Do it again. So what I'm going to write here now is again a loop, an iterative statement, but not the for loop that you did last week or the week before. Because the for loop is used more for how many times. It's like a counter. I can manipulate it to work like this, but if there is Java gives me another way of doing it, why would I try manipulation? I just use the right thing, right? So it's like something like this. I have something ready and I just take it. But if it's not ready, I kind of mix things and try to make it. So if it's ready, Java gives me something. Why would I try to mix the for, do the manipulation, and do more stuff? So now, as we do and say it in English, do while it is not correct. Keep on asking. I'll do the same thing in Java. So there is a do while construct in Java which says do while the condition is true. So do while the input is wrong. Keep asking, keep asking, keep asking. So there is a loop. Why not use it? So how do you use it now? Let's see, how do I use it? So I'm going to first write it here for you, and then I'll shift the things inside it, okay? I'll put it here because there is where I'll need it. Okay, so exactly like in English, do. What do you want to do? Something. Till when do you want to do it? While. Now give me the condition. This is called the do while loop in Java. There is a while loop also. We'll talk about it, but this is more intuitive because we say it in English. So it's like you could have said, while it is raining, stay inside. That's an option too. While it is raining, stay inside. And that's fine. So there is a while loop also. Or the other way you could say it is do while it is raining, stay inside. Or do while. So there are two loops. Now you know there are three loops. A for loop, a do while loop, and a while loop. We've already done for with you. I've already done for with you. I'll show you a do while today, and I'll show you its sister or sibling or brother also today, right? So I'll show you these loops because you need it in your age. In the assignment, it says, ensure age lies between 1 to 123. So how will you do it? You'll do it using a do while loop or a while loop. You can't use for. You can with manipulation. But what is for? For, whenever you say, oh, I have to do this job certain number of times, that's when you use it. Okay. Now, what do you want to say in the condition? Till when do you want to go on? Keep asking, keep asking, keep asking, keep asking. Till when do you want to go on? If your final mark is less than 0, you want to ask. If your final mark is greater than 100, you want to ask. Right? So if the user gives you a mark less than 0, you want to ask. If the user gives you a mark greater than 0, you want to ask. So do while the final mark is either less than 0 or the final mark is greater than 100. Now, what is this new symbol? This is OR. For your information, this stands for OR. So I'll put it. This is for you. You don't have to tell this to me in my comment, in your comments, right? So OR is symbolized with two pipes. These are called pipes. This is the OR. So if there is an OR, there definitely is also an AND for your information. So if you have money and Tim Hortons is open, get a coffee. That's an AND. So in AND, all conditions need to be true to do something. In OR, even if one condition is true, the whole compound condition becomes true. So what I've written for you is a compound condition. It has two conditions and it is joined by an OR. So you've seen your third group of operators, which are called logical operators. Arithmetic operators, plus, minus, multiplication, division, modulus. Relational operators, less than, equal to, greater than, not equal to, equal to. Logical operators, and, or, and not. Right? So you've used OR. And the OR is used in a compound condition. You've written a compound condition. And it is a logical operator. It's called logical operator. And there are others. That's not, okay, for your information. So again, these comments I'm not expecting back from you. Use Pascal naming convention to name class, use camel. That's I'm trying to explain things. These are not what I'm expecting. This is what I'm explaining to you. But the other comments that I'm writing is what I'm expecting. So many of you just took my comments and kind of copied. I think you took my program and just replaced it, which is okay. But remove the extra redundant comments. Okay. So I hope that you're satisfied with your marks in assignment 1 regarding commenting and have looked at the solution that I've put on Blackboard. So you're not matching how many, you're matching the quality of the comments. You'll say, I wrote so many comments and she still gave me a 1. But how many is not important. The quality is important. Are you writing the right comments is what I'm looking. And I must confess that commenting was not good in assignment 1. The highest mark I think I gave, I don't think I gave a 4. I think the highest mark I gave was a 3.5. And there were many students with 1, so don't feel disheartened. Many students with 1. 2 was also a scarcity. And again, I'm just doing healthy criticism. I want you to write good comments because you will have to write comments at the end of the day in your pool. You cannot avoid them. You should not avoid them. Some will be technical, like Java doc comments, which are technical, and some will be for you and me, for programmers who are working in the same project. So don't take it too hard. It was only 5%, that assignment. Now you have a 15% assignment, and you have commenting, and you have all those methods. Every method will have a purpose. So put a comment like I do. I use Java doc, you can use whatever, and then comment. So commenting is going to have more marks. And this time I'm not going to explain what is wrong. I'll just give you a mark and I'll give you my solution. But I've explained to most of the students, I think 90%, after that I really got tired. To the 90% of students, I've said, why am I docking off your marks? So that they understand, right? I don't want to take your marks and eat them. I want to give you marks because it makes me happy, oh, they're getting it. Okay, so this is not what I want from you when I kind of look at it. This is for you. So I've created a compound condition here. Compound conditions are joined using and or ors. And is a double and symbol and or is a double or symbol in Java. Just in case you look them up, there is also a single and a single or. They have the same job, but with a difference. And I'll tell you the difference just as a layman, nothing else. Now, when is this compound condition true? Because it has an or, it will be true if either this is true or this is true. Either of them is true. That's the English or, right? So if you have money or somebody is treating you to a coffee or the coffee is free at Tim Hortons, drink it. So either of the conditions is true in or, the compound condition becomes true. Okay, that's what an or is. Go ahead.
So if it's 101, it's still greater than 0. So why?
So see, no, it is if it is 101, it is greater than 100. So the condition is true. So it will loop. It will keep looping, asking again, asking again.
So we'll check both of those, even if it's an or, because it's still.
Okay, so if it is 101, it will first check this. Is it less than 0? No. Right? But it says, oh, there is an or. I have to check my second condition still. So or will check, it will keep checking conditions till it can make a decision. So if it was minus 12 and it said, oh, it is less than 0, I don't even have to check the rest of the conditions. That's the smart or. It's called the short circuit or. That's what I was saying. There is a double line or and there is a single or, and that's the difference. As soon as it can make a decision, it will stop. But if it cannot make a decision and there are more conditions, it will check till it finds a right answer. So if you gave 111 or 105, is it less than 0? It will say no, but it won't stop because there is an or after it. It says, oh, there is an or. Maybe the second condition is true. So it will go and check. Okay. So using the double is kind of saying check. And once you know the answer, stop. So if it is minus 5 you gave and minus 5 is less than 0, it found its solution. True. Oh, I'm not even checking the rest of the conditions. How does it matter? I found a true, the compound condition is true. So these are called short circuit ors and ands, the double ones. The single ones don't have a name, they're just called and. Okay, that's the difference. But for you, a compound condition involving or is true if at least one condition is true. At least, both can be true, but at least one is true. A compound condition involving and is true if all the conditions are true. then it is true. So here I have to use an or. So when do you ask again? You ask if the number is less than 0 or it is greater than 100. In both cases, you have to ask again. So say it in English and code it in Java. I must warn you, and I am at this stage also after so many years, when I write or use an and an or, I always have to think again. Am I doing the right thing? Right? Because sometimes we say it some way else, but it's not converted correctly. So always, till now, till date, whenever I'm writing a compound condition, I think twice. I write it, I think, I double check it, test it, and I say, okay, I'm doing the right job. So don't worry about it if you can't get it on the first go. Or do I use an or do I use an and? Think about it. Okay?
Can we use conditional for character?
Can you use character?
Conditional for character. For example, if char equals f, do that.
Oh yeah, you can. So you're talking about gender, right? So if gender is equal to male, do this. Yes, you can. You can have a simple condition, you can have a compound condition, or you can say if gender is equal to M or gender is equal to F, do this. Sure, you will need it to use it. There is where you will use your or your and, right? So you have it where to use it. Okay?
Would this work for string?
Okay, now with string, the equal operator doesn't work. You can use the two equals. So if I'm saying, so if you're saying gender is equal to male, I've said therefore I kept it to one character, M or F, because I haven't yet taught you how to compare strings.
Yeah.
You can use the two equals to compare numbers. You can use the two equals to compare characters, but you can't use the two equals to compare a string. There is a method that you have to use, and you haven't done the method. So your input should be either an M or an F, and it should only be M or F. So take the input from the user, check, is it an M or an F? Good. If not, ask again. I've said restrict the input to M or F only. I don't want an A, B, C.
So that would kind of work like that. You just do N, the lines or F.
Yes, it's a character, so you will put it in single quotes.
Okay.
Right. So if you're comparing a gender, that's the name of your variable, and you're comparing it with M or F. And remember, M, F. There are two small m's, two capital F's. So you can, if you like, you can compare all four conditions. Some students are a little ahead. They're using a method. I'm not expecting it. So you will do it like this. If gender is equal to, that's the equal. Okay. And that's how you compare a character. And if you want to do a not equal, you go not equal. That's how you compare numbers and characters.
Is this sensitive to operators?
Yes, it is. It is. So when you write your if statement, you will have to say if gender is equal to M or F or F. Now this is not too big. It's okay. There are only 4 options. But think about it. If I say male, now male can be input in so many different case combinations. All capital, all small, M capital, red small, anything and everything. There are ways to work around it, I'll tell you. This was still okay. M and F, there are only 4 conditions. But why even write 4? I can reduce it to 2. I can by using a method, which we haven't done, so I'm keeping my mouth shut. Right? We haven't done it, so I'm not asking of you. If you do it, good. If you don't do it, but check everything. I've said the input can be M or F, but the user can input a small m. I haven't said that it has to be a capital M. All I've said it is either M or F. Maybe I should have said slash just in case it doesn't occur. But if it is the first assignment, if you're still doing the if, I won't dock off marks. Right? But small m can be input and it is still a male. But what I did ask for male or female because they are strings, and then comparing strings is an entire different ballgame. And I cannot do it before the reading week or before your assignment. So I didn't even ask for it. When you print it out, you check if it is an M or an M, print male. If it is an F or an F, print out female. So in the output, I want you to print out male and female. In the input, it is restricted to M and F. And you can use this do while loop. So do while gender is not equal to M or gender is not equal to small m or gender is not equal to F or gender is not equal to small. 4 conditions will be odd. Okay. Okay. So does that make sense? So do while the final mark is less than 0 or it is greater than 100. What do you want to do? You want to ask and ask and ask again. Keep on asking, right? So take the system out println from here and the reading and put it inside the while. Here, put it here. So whatever you did before without the do, now I am doing it with the do. Is indentation important? No. Is it recommended? Highly. So now read it. So it begins. Now look at the method. Read it with me. Read the method with me. I declare a local variable that has no initial value. That's okay. I start a job. It starts. It just starts. There is no condition to check. This loop is called the do while loop. Right? Many languages have it. It checks the condition at the end of the loop. Notice how the condition is checked at the end. So it just enters the loop. So it will just start the loop. So hence the loop is executed at least once. Why? Because it's not checking the condition before it starts. It just does it. So the do while loop will be executed at least once. I say at least, then it says, oh, the condition is wrong. Until when does it execute? It keeps executing while the condition, whether it is simple or compound, doesn't matter, is true. That's how a do while works. So the do while loop checks the condition at the end of the loop. When I say end, it does this and then checks it. Hence, the loop is executed at least once. So since it doesn't check it at the beginning, it will of course do it once, and then it looks and says, oops, I didn't have to do it, but it has already done it, right? And then it keeps executing while the condition is true. You will say, then why don't you check it in the beginning? Yes, I can check it in the beginning, but think about it. I have to read a final mark once for sure. I have to read it, right? I need the input at least once for sure. So why use a while loop? I will use a do while loop. So do read the number. Is it less than 0 or greater than 100? Yes. Go back. Read again. Go back. Read again. I gave a proper number 23. Oh, the condition is false now. Get out of the loop. Done. Return the final mark. Job is done. Let's test it. Right? Let's test it. So I've used a do while loop here. And all I did was my message will come on the screen. I'll take the input. The input will be checked. If the condition is false, it will exit and get out. If the condition is true, it will go back and keep looping. So you don't have to say go back. So you don't need a go to. The do while is a go to. Right? Let's check it. Let's see if it works. That's the only change I've made. Okay, let's see if it works. Let's compile it. Let's look for errors. Let's go here. Let's go here. I have no clue why my half of the messages are coming where I can't see them. Oh, there. Now they're okay. Okay. So it says, please enter the student number, WW or QQ. Here. It says, give me a mark, -5. Doesn't budge. Remember, it's in that loop. Why? Because mark is less than 0. Doesn't budge because the mark is greater than 100. It's okay. There. So I forced the user to give me a mark between 0 and 100. I haven't done all validation. As I said, I haven't done string validation. If you try to give a string, it will blow up. If you try to give a 12.5, it will blow up. Why? Because the type of data is byte. It is expecting an integer from you. Now it's all good. But the user may say, why are you asking me the question over and over again? Can't you see that I'm asking a mark from 0 to 100? But never, ever assume that your user is smart. Your user is always dumb. So give him an error message. Yes, Kirill, I'll answer your question now.
Can you try to input a number more than 100?
Oh yeah, I did 123. I did input 123. I did.
Because I got a mistake.
You got a mistake. That means there is something wrong in the code. Check this. Did you say greater than 100?
Yes.
And less than 0?
Yes.
Then can't be. Let's try again. Try again. It is. I did 123. I just did it. I showed you both of them. And you don't have to only do it twice. You can do it 1,000 times. So please enter a student number. Okay. -1 should ask again. -3 should ask again. -5 should ask again. -2 must ask again. 123 must ask again. 145 must ask again. Oops. 34. Why did I get that error? I've gone out of range of my byte. Now that's another error checking. If you declared it as a byte, you shouldn't go. Maybe that's the error you're getting. Don't do that.
I inputted 400.
Exactly. It won't work. Why? Because the type is byte. So I've said I've only taken my first step to input validation. I've only taken my first step. There are more steps. Out of range. Good that you pointed it out. I didn't mention it before. Not what I'm saying it is, like a string. So, or a float. Even that will blow. So you got an error because you gave 140, and can 140 be put in a byte? No. Remember that range of a byte?
Yeah.
So it doesn't catch the error like I said it would, because the value is out of range. So to catch such kind of errors, we'll have to use a different mechanism. And that mechanism won't come till week 7 or 8. So patience, right? So for now, when I run your program, I'll keep in that range, but I'll check. Did you check it for me? Okay, so it will work. So definitely, thank you for bringing that up, Kiran. It won't check 140 and give you an error because it's out of range altogether of a byte. Okay, does that make sense? Is it making sense? Now, what I was saying is the user will know why am I being asked the question again when I've given you -5 is my mark. I did fail. We are saying no. So to kind of tell the user that, please, this is why I am asking again. And as I said, your user is dumb. Invalid input. I give a message to the user and I say the mark must lie. I'll kind of copy this. Oh, well, the mark must be in %d dash %d. Or you can say must be between. You can say 0. And again, notice another use of constant. No magic numbers in code. I don't want any magic numbers in your code. 703, whatever, 50% to 85%. These are all magic numbers. So you'll say, how will I declare the 50%? 0.50 as a floating constant. How will I declare 85%? 0.85 as a floating number constant. That's how you will declare them. Constants can be integers. Constants can be floats. Constants can be strings. So no magic numbers in your code. I don't want to see that 703, that 50, that 85, nothing. I don't want to see it in your code, right? So now here also, since I've said it, take your minimum mark from here, put it here. No magic numbers in the code. Take your maximum mark here, put it here. Notice how I've already used it 3 times in a method. And the final mark must be between this inclusive. We'll say inclusive, that 0 and 100 are allowed. Sometimes there's confusion, or is it allowed or is it not allowed? Okay, so what do we need? Close it and then take these 2 parameters. Oops. Take these 2 parameters and put them here. Now I'm telling the user, why am I asking again? So it was quite obvious that you're not following my instructions, so I'm asking again. But now I said the final mark must be between. So you can kind of emphasize your must if you want. Okay? Yes.
Does that not have to be within the end state?
Let me think about your question. And let me think if, yes, you're perfectly right. Ben says, will you always print it even if the number is correct? Let me show you something. and I'll answer your question and you're right. So I've put a message and I say now the message is good. And Ben came up with a question, a very valid question. And he's right. And I'll show you, what did I do here? That was wrong. Printf, thank you. Oops, sorry, caps lock. And then I'll put a %n because otherwise the message will come in the same line. Okay. You say, okay, I'll give an error message, and that was the whole idea, but I'll show you something that I made a mistake. And Ben found out that mistake without even me running it, which is a good option. Oh, sorry about that. Should have cleared it before I did it. Okay, let's right click, main. Okay. Okay, please enter the student number. What's your mark? -4. Invalid input, the final mark must be between 0 and now the user knows why am I being asked again, right? So these are good prompt messages. 122 is in range of 127, yes. Still get an error. That's perfectly fine. Give -1. So the error message is coming up, which is good. To make it more prominent, maybe you can put dashes in front and back so that the user knows, just to make it prominent. Now, to answer Ben's question, I gave a right input now, 56. I still see the message, though I'm out of it. I still see the message. I shouldn't even see the message. So what do I need? So the message is good. That's fine. I did the right job, but I didn't do it correctly. So before I output the message, let me check if your mark is invalid. How do you check? If the final mark is less than minimum mark or greater than 100, then print the message. Otherwise, don't print it. And again, dashes will just kind of make it stand out. And that's what I'm doing, okay? Always a good idea to kind of emphasize it. So you had a good point, right? Do I need an else with this if? No, else I don't want to say good job. I could, but I don't need an else, so I don't put an else. So can an if exist without an else? Yes, it can. So you can write an if without an else. Can an if only have one single statement? Yes, then I don't need the opening and the closing braces. Then I don't need it. If you want to get into the habit of always putting the braces, sure, go ahead. But you don't need it actually. You don't. Single statements don't need it. So let's try to do it so that you can remember it. So the braces are not necessary if you only have a single statement inside your if. You can make that point if you like, right? So what am I doing here? I'm checking. So I'm going to display an error message if the final mark is not in range. There is my comment. That's what I'm doing with this if statement. And for your information, that is not a comment, for your information, so it's FYI. If does not need an else, always, right? And also, if there is a single statement in the if, braces are not required. So this is for FYI, right? So maybe I should start saying FYI where it is just for information and you don't have to copy them. That way you will know, oh, she's just telling us something, right? So again, here the do while loop checks the condition at the end of the loop, hence the loop is executed at least once, it keeps executing. You don't have to, this is FYI. This is just for your information, how does the do while work. Maybe that way you won't copy them, right? So what would you write for your own comments is this: do while or repeat. Instead of do while, you can say repeat, or you can say keep asking. That's your comment. Keep asking for the mark till a valid mark is entered by the user. You can call it mark, you can call it final mark, as long as it makes sense. So this is for your information, these three ones. So you can put it in block comments if you like. I can put the FYIs in block comment just because it was more than one line. Maybe I'll start doing this, that way you know what is required and what is just the FYI, right? Make sense? So that's a do while loop. I was mentioning that there is also a while loop. So let's try to write it in a while loop, the same thing in a while loop. So what I'll do is I'll copy the same stuff here that you have. And maybe you can tell me, oops, what did I do? This is what I did. I'll copy the same loop. I'll kind of write it here. And this is called a do loop. I already have that FYI. So let me copy it. I've lost what I had. Now I'm going to write a while loop, not a do while. I'm going to write a while loop. It checks the condition at the beginning of the loop. Hence the loop is not executed even once. So if the condition is true, it will go. It keeps executing while the condition is true. Let's write that loop for you. Let me write it for you. And you will tell me why it doesn't work, or why would you prefer one over the other. You have to, because it's a decision you will have to make many times in programming. Okay, so this is how it is different. The while condition is picked up from here and put at the beginning. So the structure is different. Don't put the semicolon there. So I'm saying while the final mark is less than 0 or it is greater than 100, keep asking. I'm doing the same job. I just shifted my condition from the bottom to the top. It's still a loop. So it is saying while the final mark is less than 0 or greater than 100, keep asking, keep asking, keep asking. Do you think I'll have a problem here? So I'm going to comment out the do while for a minute. Though you will, again, you can use either. You can make a choice yourself. So I'm doing the same thing. I have a mark and I'm using a final. BlueJ itself is giving you an error. Don't look. Oh, there, it is already showing the error. It says you are telling me to check a condition, but final mark doesn't exist. Well, local variables don't have any value. They have junk. It says you're telling me to check the value of final mark. Is it less than 0 or greater than 100? But where is final mark? You don't even have it. So for it to operate, I'll have to kind of create a dummy final mark. And to make the loop work, I'll have to give it a dummy value. I mean, I'll have to force it, right? So why did I do a -1? Because I know the condition is something that will make the loop work. So don't make it 25. The loop will never work. The value will be 25. It won't even ask for it. So you're forcing the loop to work by using a dummy value to make the loop work. So this is something extra you have to do if you use the while loop. Or the other option is, if you don't want to do this, the other option is so this is an easy one. You have to do an ask the user before the loop also. So these two statements will have to come once outside also. That's another option. I'll kind of copy it from here and put it here. So you have asked once and then you've written the loop. So that's extra work. That's extra coding. Why would I do it? You can do it this way. If you don't want the dummy, this is an easy way. Make it -1 so the loop will start, right? Because it is less than 0. Or you can say 122 and the loop will start. Some dummy value that will make the loop start at least. The loop start instead of work will say start. Or the other option is that you ask once. Once you ask it, then of course it has final mark and then it will start the loop. But then things change. You already asked it, then you'll have to move this at the end of the loop. So there is more work to be done. Right? So what do you think? What would be a better loop to work? The do while or the while loop? Which is a better option? The do while, because you have to take the input at least once. Right? You're asking for input, you have to do it at least once, so use the do while. So you can do the while, but you'll have to add that extra statement of final mark is equal to -1. And you have to force it a wrong value, either less than 0 or greater than 100, but less than 127. Please be careful about that 127 because it's a byte, to make the loop start. You want the loop to start. You don't want to use that value because hard-coded data. So if you by chance you say, oh, any dummy value will do. No, this dummy value will not do. It will become your value because final mark is 95 is not the correct value. So the dummy value you use, dummy incorrect value to make the loop start. So you have to think, what should I give it? You'll have to think, shall I give it 122? Yeah, that will work. Can I give it -5? Yes, it will work. Can I give it 95? Yeah, you can give it 95, but then that's the final mark. You have not asked the user what is the final mark. So the dummy value has to be thought of. Depends upon what? Depends upon the condition. You want to make the condition true so that the loop starts. So the dummy value you have to think about is to make the loop start. So a dummy value that will make the loop start, or in other words, the condition should be true. This is again for your FIY. And as I said, the other option is to ask the user once before the loop, but that's too much work. And then you have to manipulate it. This is the easy way out. Right? So what would I prefer as a programmer? I would prefer a do while because it makes sense. Right? It makes sense. But if while makes more sense to you, then be careful. You have to manipulate it to make it work. This is manipulation. Right? I've manipulated it. I've created a dummy -1 value so that my condition becomes true. Condition becomes true, so I start working. So it's up to you. So my preference and the programmer's preference should basically be the do while loop. So I'll keep that. I'll uncomment that one. And I'll comment this one. So I'll comment this one. I keep it for you for reference, so that if you need it in your assignment, you know what it is. It's the same thing. It's like a do while. The difference, there is one major difference. And that major difference is in the do while, the condition is checked at the end of the loop. In the while, the condition is checked at the beginning of the loop. So if the condition is false at the beginning, it won't even enter. Or if the value that you're checking, the variable you're checking doesn't even exist, it will blow up. Right? With do while, you're safe. You're asking and then checking. Okay? There, we'll take a break. We'll take a break, and that's what you will need in maybe wherever in your assignment. So now you've seen all three loops: the for loop, the do while loop, and the while loop. There are three iterative statements. I've just done them simply. I'll do them in detail after your midterm again. Right? You need to do them more and more. I just used an or, an and, a not, and so on. I'll show you those stuff today. Take a break. Please be back in 20 minutes, and then we will do that status thing. Check status. I want to make a change in check status now. Okay, I want to show you a few more things. I think I need breakfast with all that talking. Yes.
A question.
Yeah.
Can't seem to figure out what my errors are. So here's the code. So I was writing up.
Mhm.
I used floats. Excuse me. For the max height and min height, because it's decimals.
We'll change these to bytes afterwards, but now they're ints are okay because weight will never go. Depending upon what the weight is, see what range you need. For age, we can go byte,
Okay.
right? Okay.
I can change that.
Yeah, that's not a big thing because you never knew about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this guy, without executing it, it keeps telling me that something.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Go up. Yeah. No. Go up. I know that. If you remember, if you use float here and you're giving it a value, you have to put an F at the end.
Oh.
Otherwise, it is assumed to be a double. We did this in one of the examples in the beginning.
I do remember you doing that quickly.
There.
That's right. And then that should work for these guys.
For these guys, yes.
Execute. Okay, now I'm getting a problem with.
Okay, what are you saying get name will take from you?
I wanted to take this guy here.
Yeah, but this guy here has to be taken here and returned. Does it need something from you?
Does it need something from you? This one?
Yeah, the get name.
Yes, it takes your input up.
Okay, where is the input being taken?
Input is being taken right here.
And you're returning the input.
Yes.
You're not giving anything to it to take the input.
Oh,
It doesn't need a parameter.
okay.
Parameter is what does the method need from you to do its job.
Oh, so
So it doesn't need anything.
For this one, I can get rid of all these, except for the name.
What is this
one-
get information?
Get information is
Okay, so instead of calling it get info, please say get age.
oh, I was just gonna ask for age, weight, and
Every
height all at
input
once.
method has a different method,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Just trying to make you write methods.
Okay.
Though of course you can ask them together. But if you ask them together, how are you going to return?
Am I going to return them?
What can you return in one return statement?
Just one thing. I can't put a comma and another thing.
No, not in Java. Not in Java. In
Okay.
Python, yes.
In Python, okay.
Okay, so yes, you will remove that. We'll give it a better name. Even if you were talking get info, we'd call it get information. No
Okay.
short forms. We'll call it get age, and you only need to pass it to the name. So remove the string name from the first get name, and you should be okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Most welcome.
Just taking a look at my rubric. I got a 0 for.
Did you show it to me in class?
No, I sent the screenshot, but I guess I haven't showed it. to
What
you
did
in
it say?
class yet. Second class.
And it also said on the announcements. Show it to me. Maybe you were absent when I was seeing it. I've seen it for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, I was. I admit it.
I want to see if you can run it on the command line. Change your directory to where your program is. Yeah, go ahead and keep it ready for me. But why? It cannot be, and it doesn't make sense. Boolean means F can be true or false. That's not what we do. There's no mean, right? So you will have to use a character for gender. You'll have to take the input from the user, check it is right. Yes, get it.
Yeah, I have problems with my.
Okay, one. The sex is not a string. I said you are using a character here. I told you MF is what the input is.
Okay, but
Yeah, because you've done it with the string and it will work, but I told you you're not using the right type, right? So you will do not there.
it's just.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
People ask me, like,
Let's go back to the code. Okay, where are we asking? Show me the main. So age was an integer. The byte. Come back now, show me that method, get user age. Okay. Remember we talked about this in assignment 1. I said, why did I ask you to ask the program name first, then the age, and then because there is something extra in the input buffer, and you have to flush it out by using the next line method. So what is happening is the age that you gave in is being saved. So you gave in 23, and then you pressed the enter key. That's in your input buffer, right? 23 was absorbed. It was eaten by 8, but this still is in your buffer. So this enter is going into the cells. So you have to remove this, and I had showed you how to remove this in class.
Okay.
Do you remember? Not sure. Okay, so go up. So if after a number, come down where you're reading it. If after a number you're reading another thing, you have to flush the buffers. And the way to flush buffer, let's do it in that method itself, get user list. Okay, so after you read it, you can now see you've only written an if, it will only ask once, you have to use a while.
Yes.
Right? But before you come back, and why are you saying return a blank? You're saying I'm going to return a byte. So if that return is wrong, maybe that's causing the
I don't know. I don't think so. If they remove 3 shorts, it's asking.
Yeah, but you cannot return a character. You're saying I'm going to return a byte from you. So you have to return the user age, which you have here. Okay, but anyway, this will only run once. Okay, that's okay. But you can remove the whole return. Then I see why it says you have now. When you read a number here, bring your mouse after the return or wherever you get it. Now this if is only working once.
Yes.
The problem will also occur if you convert it into a while. You give an age, it will not ask you again because that enter is second. So to kind of eat away anything extra in the buffer, just write this. Input dot next line. So it will eat up everything you say to it. Now where do you put it? You have to think about it, okay? And don't assign it to anything because it's just eating it and throwing it. Okay? That's what you have to do. Okay, what's your name? Email me, give me your name, and I'll increase that mark. Okay? But be careful in future. I said I'll check it in class. I did it 2 weeks. Maybe you were not present, but then if you're not present, then you come and show it to me in my office. If you're not making the effort to do it, I give you a C. Okay, so email me with your name and I'll increase that mark for you. Okay?
Remember you said a single byte is.
Or it is still an or.
But I'm sorry, it was the way I was under the impression that it was a bitwise or.
No, it's not. You can use a single in Java. It's an or.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. There is another bitwise or also with a single, but that's a bitwise or, and there is also a double and a single ors also.
Oh.
You're right both ways. You're right. You're both right. Okay.
Thanks.
How does it know which one to use? Depends upon it will understand from whether you're writing it in a condition or you're using it between 2 numbers. Okay, when it is between 2 numbers, it is a bitwise or. When it is in a condition, it is a or.
I have a high grade.
Bring your mouse in. You can use next slide. So the method is not called next scan. The method is called next. You check up the method, okay? Go to Java API and look for a method that reads the character. It's called next. It's not called next scan. Check it out. It just says I don't know what that method is. So go and check the API.
What's wrong with your
Who's your first? Oh, wait.
Yes.
This method exists.
That was my Yeah. Oh, great. Oh, you're doing what? Yeah, Because originally I wanted because I was
No, I have to scale.
so
I don't know, like,
because it's like
there's no character in that. There's no character.
But this job
Yeah.
job
No problem. There's not to be sorry about it. Yeah, there is no method called next character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to show it. Students are asking it, right? So I'm going to show it. Give me a minute, right? Yes. I can take a look right now, but if there is an error, you can ask me and I can try to help you.
Is this one error?
It says identified. So what you haven't given the type of the status before it. Status is a boolean, whatever it is. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. It's like here. I use the void.
What is the type of the status?
I use the void.
What is status?
Here.
But that's a method. You can't pass a method to a parameter list. Parameters can be only data, not only data, not method names.
Oh, so I cannot put it on the.
No, you cannot, right? So when you pass parameters, all the parameters should be data. None of them can be method names. Okay? That's what it is saying.
And one more thing, could you pause the code?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have problem with mine.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
just said training the current.
Okay, a few questions were asked during the break. I don't know if they were just related to the student doing what they are doing, but I'll answer one question just because maybe you've forgotten about it. I did talk about it when I gave assignment 1. If you try to read a number and press the enter key after that, which you will, keep in mind that the 23 and the enter key go into an input buffer. So for some reason, if the next input is not being asked of you, so this 23 goes into the number you're reading and the enter is still sitting in the buffer. And you ask another question of the user and it doesn't ask, I mean, it gives the prompt, but it doesn't ask you for it because it has taken this enter to be your answer. So a way to flush your input buffer, if it is causing problems, is simply saying the name of your scanner object dot next line. This will flush your buffer. So anything extra in your buffer can be flushed by just writing that statement where you need it. You don't have to assign it to anything because you're flushing it, removing it, and that will help you. So if I'm not sure if it is happening in a student's program, maybe he's doing something that is not to be done. But just a reminder that if you give a prompt and you're expecting to put input and it doesn't even stop for input, that means it already has picked up something from your buffer, which is sitting there from previous input. So if you find something like this, to flush your input buffer, you just say the name of your scanner object dot next line. Everything in the buffer till the end of the line will be flushed out, just in case you need this. 2, students are asking me, how do I read a character? I can't find next char, I can't find next character. But you see what? Then you have to look for something else. So what am I going to do is I'm going to look for the scanner class here. And in the scanner class, where were the methods by the help of which you were reading data. So next int, next byte, so on and so forth. So if it doesn't have a next char, then it doesn't have a next char. You can't make it like you just can't do anything. You'll say, but then how do I read a character? There will be something in here which you will have to kind of think about, which may help you, right? So if I don't see a next char, I see a byte, I see double, I see float, I don't see a next char, right? So how will you read a character, and where do you need the character to read that MF? Those are characters, right? So there is a way of doing it. There is a method called next, which will help you out. Okay. So try to see, can I do it using the next method? So it says, but it returns a string. You may be a little confused. Try to do it. If you're stuck, do what you can. I'll handle it. Okay. You say, oh no, the character is not working. I'll make it a string and work with it. Go ahead if you can't handle it. That's okay. I know it's a little tricky, but it can be done. It can be done. If you cannot do it, make your MF as strings instead of characters and go ahead and work with it. Okay. Though MFs should be chars, they are single characters, but reading characters, it is a little bit of dicey. I have seen a couple of students doing it, but I'm sure that they have done more programming than just this class, so they can handle it. And if you cannot handle it, make it a string, read only M or F, ensure that only M or F are read, and then go on. I won't dock off marks if I don't see a char, but I see a string, because I know it's a little dicey. But you can do it. It can be there. There is no method called next char, but next or next line can be used and manipulated. So there is a little bit of manipulation. And again, since it was pointed out, and I understand that it may be new for you, and I haven't done it, if you can figure out, good. If you can't figure it out, that's okay. We'll figure it out together after the assignment. Okay. I know how to do it because I've done it, right? Okay, so somebody asked me to put this program till date, what I've done on Blackboard, because they were kind of behind. So I've put it right now, but it's not yet complete. We're doing more stuff in it. Okay, but it is here on Tuesday under weekly learning if you want to pick it up. So try it, Kirill, try your next and see if it works. If it doesn't work, make it a string and just work with it.
Okay.
Right? But validation still has to be done. I'm not saying validation, leave the validation. So M is a string, so is F a string. So read it as a string, but validate it. Validation is compulsory. Okay? So don't forego that part of the assignment. You can do that. So let me just double check. Where have I placed restrictions? User's name, age of, and here. So ensure you need a do while here and you need a do while here. So the type of gender should be a char by standards, because it's only taking an M or F. But then reading a char and working with it is a little bit of dicey. Can't handle it, do strings, don't worry about it. But definitely input can only be either M or F. And you know what, maybe now if I make a change, I don't want to confuse my students every time I do that, right? I put something and then a student asks me and I say, oh, I forgot, and I change it. I did that for submission last time, nothing else. But this time, M and F, if you only do it for capital M and F, I'll take it just because I didn't say anything. But keep in mind, M can be small too. Input can enter user can enter a small M too. So you should be checking both M's and both F's logically, without saying even, right? Without even saying, because M, I can put a lowercase m. It's your job to say, oh, that's an M. M is an M. Okay, so you can do that too. It can be done. The easiest way is writing 4 conditions. There is another way also of doing it in strings, not in chars. In strings there is, but we haven't talked about it. I won't change it and I won't but look, if I've said the inches, not automatically, that's a float. Automatically, that's a byte, right? M and F are chars. I wanted you to use chars, but if you cannot, that's okay. User's name is a string, right? Weight in pounds looks like an integer, can be byte. Short, I don't think, short may accommodate it. Short may accommodate it. I don't know what the range of short is. 32766, no, 32767, yes, short will accommodate it. Byte will not accommodate it. Short will, so use short. I'm just trying to make you think. And that's why I've said that please use the right type and the right size. If you're not thinking, it's okay, it's 2 marks. But at least I'm bringing your attention. And yes, I did try to find out what it is. Make this as if you want to make any constants, and if it is a float constant, please put an F at the end of it. If you've forgotten, we've done this also. If you want to create a constant, a final variable which is a float, and I'm just giving it a name, M, very poor name. But if you want to give it a value for whatever reason, put an F at the end of it. This was done also in one of the class topics that I did, because otherwise it is assumed to be a double. So if you want to assign a constant to a float, you have to put F at the end. Otherwise 0.15 is assumed to be a double. So you'll say, where will I need it? You will need it maybe for this 50% and 85%. 50 and 85, 0.50, 0.85. Those should be constants. Right? I don't want to see any magic numbers. 18.5, 24.9, 29.9. I don't want to see any magic numbers in code. Give them good names. Minimum weight, maximum weight, something like that, whatever. And the whole idea of named constants is flexibility and readability, which is highly recommended. So if I see something like 703, it may not make sense. But if you call it a BMI constant, it will say, oh, it's a constant that you required in your BMI. I know it will never change in life. It will never. But I'm just getting you into the habit of writing it. Tax, yes, may change. It was 13%, then it could go to 15. Different provinces have different taxes. So making tax as a named constant may make entire sense to you. But will this ever change? No. So why should I make it a constant? Because 703 makes no sense to somebody who's reading your code. Will this ever change? No. 18.5, less than 18.5 is underweight. Between this is, and you can do it for yourself and see what your BMI is. Right? All you have to do is kind of enter. But will this change? Who knows? Right now, that's the target heart rate. But maybe they say, oh, now we are going from as age expectancy changes, You may say, oh, it's from 55% to 80%. So that may change, right? But yes, 703 will never change in this formula. It will always remain a 703. But your height, and it's okay if one weight is integer, but height is float, automatically mixture, answer will be a float. Okay. If they were all integers, then I would have done this. You could have done this and it will change into a float. Any one of the operands is float, everything changes into float. Otherwise, keep in mind integer divided by an integer is an integer. Integer divided by an integer always gives an integer. 5 divided by 2 is a 2, not a 2.5. But here we are safe because though the weight is an integer, the height is a float. So when you mix types, it goes to the higher type automatically. So you'll be okay. Small things, but will come as you work. Okay. Okay. So M and F, I won't do much. I'll leave it alone. Even if you're doing capital M and capital F, I'll be fine with it because I didn't think about it. Like I just assumed it was okay. And which is a wrong assumption. When you're teaching an introductory course, you should always think that the student does not know anything, right? That's the whole purpose of an introductory course. So that was my mistake. I didn't think about it. That's okay. It's not a big deal. At least you use an if and an or, and that's my purpose. Okay. Okay, let's come to this now. The check status last time was simply checking if the mark was greater than or equal to 60 and it was less than or equal to, you don't want to put an else less than or equal to 60. And when you printed it out, we used if status is true, print out pass, and if the status is false, print out a fail. We did it ourselves. We had to because we didn't want to see true, false like an answer, because status true means what and status false means what. Just because there is another way of doing if else, I'm going to show it to you, introduce you to another operator today, right? And it is called the ternary operator, right? Now, what is this ternary operator? I can maybe show you where we have printed it out. Let me show it to you here. I had also said that I would like you to use the short form if status instead of if status is equal to true, just because it's more English-like. Like we never say if raining is equal to true, we say if raining. If hungry is equal to true, no, we say if hungry, right? You could write, if you want, you could have written this in another way, and I'm going to show you that because we've talked about logical operators today. If you wanted, the same code can be written like this. And this means status is false. So if I say if not status, it means if status is equal to false. That's the short form. So that's your third logical operator, the not operator. So you have and, which we haven't seen yet. Then there is or, which we saw, and that is the not operator, right? So if not status is the short form of if status is equal to false. Definitely you want to change it. Here, what do you want to say now? If it is false, if it is fail, and then here you want to say it is a pass. So definitely you'll have to change your. So start using short forms. I mean, there's nothing wrong in saying if status is equal to false, if status is equal to true, but like, I mean, in the long run, you have to learn it. So just start doing it that way. And it makes sense. It makes sense. Another thing that I would like to show to you today is a ternary operator. There is a ternary operator that is again for your information, okay? There is a ternary operator that is a short form of if else. Nothing wrong in if else. The poor guy is perfectly fine. But there is another small form, right? I'm going to show it to you right here. I'm going to create a string variable for you. I'm going to call it status. Can I call it status right here? Yeah, I can. Why not? It's just a local variable. I'm just checking if it's not. And look what I'm doing. I'm writing a ternary operator. I'm saying if the value of status is true, then if assign pass to the variable, else assign fail to the variable. That is an if else. Read it with me. This is how it reads. If this condition is true, now if again, I would go short form, but I'll kind of complete it for you because you're looking at it for the first time. If status is equal to true, assign pass to this variable called, oh, this is not status. What was this variable called? It was called status. Oops. So this is not, can't call this status. We'll have to call it print status. Can't think of a better name. What do you want to print, right? Here, I've called it print status. I already have a local variable status. So if you already have a local variable, you cannot create another local variable by the same name. It will be utterly confused. What are you doing? You have a local variable of type Boolean, and now you're creating another local variable by the same name. It's like saying I cannot have two Johns in my same class. So if I have to differentiate between them, I'll have to say John last name, John last name. Okay, same thing. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a ternary operator. Why have I written an assignment statement for it? Because it's just easy to understand it this way. What is the ternary operator? This is the ternary operator. This combination of this and this is the ternary. Why is it called ternary? Because it has three parts. If the status is true, pass is assigned to print status. If it is false, that is the only other option, right? If the condition is false, then fail is assigned to print status. That's if else, short form. Start using it. Instead of an if else, instead of writing it this way, write it this way. And now what I can do is this. I can do this. I can do a system out println just to show it to you. I can do a system out println. Oh, we didn't do this. Let's do this also since we have time today. %20s. Let's make it look like a table. Take the status from here and Control X out. Let's make it look neater, like a tabular form. So remember the 20s, it will always put your data in 20 spaces and it will look neater. Okay, so final mark, oh, that's an integer. Okay. So final mark will come in 20s. Then I'll put a colon like I did in the previous one. I'll put a blank and then I'll put a %d. And of course, that's wrong. That's it. So what does this 20s do? This 20s is for putting the student number in 20 size. If it is extra, it will just pad it by blanks. What will the second one do? The second one will put the word final mark. It's a string. So if it is a string, then it goes into a string. It will put it in 20 characters. It will just look neater. Right? It will just look neater. Is it up? No, the blue J is not up. Otherwise, I would have done it without that. Okay. So here also, I'll do the same thing. I'll pick this up. Oh, printf. I don't know how to do printf. It's a string. Oops. Of course, I know how to do printf with a string. How silly can I get? And what do you want to write here? What do we want to say about status? Can't think of a better word. Help me. I can't think of a better word than status. And then I want to print out print status. So remember, when I put something in double quotes, that is a string literal. It is a string constant. It's a literal. So status will replace this 20s. That's your first blank. The colon will come because I just want to put a colon. And the second %s will be replaced by print status. The number of specifiers here should match the number of variables on the right-hand side and their type also. I'm just trying to make it a little pretty. And we'll put it printf. That's the ternary operator. I could have done it this way. The ternary operator is that question mark and colon is called the ternary operator. And it is basically a replacement or a short form for if else. So assignment always happens last. So you don't have to worry. Assignment always happens last. So it will do the right-hand side first. What is it saying? Read it in if. If status is equal to true, pass is assigned to print status, else fail is assigned to print status. Or if you want, you don't even want to write that statement. You don't even want to make a variable. The less variables, less the problem. You can actually take this whole statement from here and put it here. You don't even have to create a variable. You can just put it here. What does it result in? A string variable. Now your answer of status will be printed 4 times. One, of course, you won't do it 4 times. One with the first 2, print status, then with the system that I've just written, the one highlighted. Then because you have your system of printlns twice, so you will see your status 4 times. Choose the one that makes sense to you. I would prefer that you start using the ternary operator for if-else. It's a short form and it's easy, right? So here I can write, instead of the variable print status, I can write the expression right here. It will be evaluated. It will be evaluated, and it will either print pass or it will print fail. Like you can write 2 plus 3 here if you wanted to print an integer. 2 plus 3 and it will give you the answer as 5. So you can do calculations in your system statement, though it is not recommended, but this is an if statement. It's okay, right? I just need to print it once and then it's gone. I don't need it. So now let's see, are all of them working? So this is called the ternary operator for your information. And I would definitely like you to kind of get away from the habit of saying is equal. This is the equal to operator for your information. We haven't used it like you did it last week, but this is the first time you're seeing it, in the sense that this is the first time in a program. That's the equal operator. Remember, it's from the relational operator set. Less than, equal to, not equal to, whatever, whatever, whatever. And if you haven't seen the not equal to operator, let me give that to you too. There is an equal operator and there is a not equal operator. That's the not equal operator. So if it is not equal to true, you want to print fail. And if it is, otherwise it's a pass. So not equal is, there is an operator called not equal, okay? Here, you can also write it this way. I would prefer you not to kind of use equals and not equals. I would like you to use the short form status and not status. So again, let me write it for you. So the aim is not to confuse you. The aim is to give you all the options so that you'll say, oh, I can do it this way. Oh, I like it better this way. So here, you can write it and it will work. It will work perfectly fine. And we don't write conditions if they are not required. Status is a Boolean variable, can only be true or false. So don't repeat conditions. Don't say if status is equal to true, do this. Else if status is equal to false, do this. Why? There are only 2 mutual conditions, yes or no. If it is not yes, it is no automatically. Why should you check again? It is a no. Because checking again means putting another if statement here. Don't put it. I mean, what's the sense of saying if else, if status is equal to false? Does it make sense? No, redundant. It's redundant. You've already checked if status is equal to true, do this. Else by default means it is false. So why would you again say else if status is equal to true? Is it wrong? No. Is it best practices? No. So don't write conditions if they are not required, because it is more work for the computer. It is for you too, but it is for the computer. So it has to check an if statement. It has to go into its logic unit to check it. It's taking more time. When there are only 2 possibilities, yes or no, true or false, why would you write the condition? Some students think it clarifies things. It doesn't clarify it. It messes up things, right? It's not making it clear. It's messing it up. It's kind of saying, oh, you do not know what you're talking about. So I wouldn't do that. It will work, but I wouldn't do that. So again, small things, but small things, good programming practices. Okay. So now let me show you that all of these will work. All of these will work. I mean, that's what I want to prove to you. And if you even want to try it with the if, it will still work. Okay. Let's save it. Let's compile it unless I've made some syntax error. No, doesn't seem like good for me. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back and back. And let's give AA as the student number. And I'll be okay this time, 56. And this has what? Oh, because they were, you will see it 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these two are kind of okay because they are using %F. So this has what has come out of formatting with your 20s. Notice how they're all lined up. So each one of this is taking 20 characters, 20 characters, 20 characters, 20 characters, 20 characters. Some people like to put it on the right. If you want to put these headings on the left, just make it -20 and it will go on the left. So this is right justified. And these are your values. AA was your name, sorry, number. 56 was your mark. You failed because less than or equal to 60 was a fail. Right? And this all fail are coming because of all those if statements. Definitely you won't write it 6 times. You will only write it once. But all I'm trying to show you is it works. So things will work definitely, but you should exactly know where to do what. So I would prefer to use a ternary operator because it's a single line. I would use my statement that is a single line here. This is the one I would use. One line does all the job. No extra variable, no if statement, nothing. Right? So the less code you write doesn't mean you're doing less work. It's becoming more efficient. You're writing less code, easy to read, compact, easy to understand. So all of them are right. Choose what you think is okay for you as a beginner. But I would like, personally, I would like you to kind of shift towards, ternary operator for a single if else. You will need it many a times in your code. See, I needed it here also, where I returned a true and a false. I could have done it here also. Can you help me how? Let's try it. What do you want to do? You want to check the mark of the student. So I can write it as a single statement, return. This is my condition. I want to return, question mark. I want to return true, else I want to return false. See here, I could do it this way. So with the return statement itself, and if it kind of makes more sense to you, it's not required. But if it, in the beginning, some students kind of try to put the ternary operators in brackets so that they can read it together, you can do it this way. This will do the same job. So instead of if and return, I've just written one return statement and it will do the same job. It will work perfectly fine. And again, the brackets are not needed. Return, it is not needed. So some of you, I should not give you bad habits. What happened in the quiz on Thursday is kind of a student on Thursday, I'm not mentioning the name or anything, but again, just something that you must think about when you do your quizzes. If the answer is 5, on Blackboard, fill in the blanks. I've said the right answer is 5. The student is just in the habit of writing everything in brackets. He writes it like this. The answer becomes wrong. Because I've never expected a number to be written in brackets. I didn't think about it. So my fill in the blanks just said 5. So I had manually to go in, and of course I gave him marks for it. It's not wrong. But don't do things if they're not required. Nobody writes a number in single quotes. But maybe the student in his head likes to. And more so with negative numbers. He was okay with positive numbers, but with negative numbers, he always put his answer in brackets. So I understand what he's kind of thinking, but now I'll have to think when I make a quiz that I put both options as correct. Right? Because, it's okay. It's how you think. So the small things, but again, so it's not, if it is not required, don't do it. If it is required, we'll do it. So let's try if it works. So now, look, I'll have a problem. It says unreachable statement. Why? Because I've already done a return here. So I'll have to comment this out to make it work. You can do the same job. You'll say, oh, I did it 5 times in the other one. In this one, you cannot because you've already said return, go back. It says if you are going back here, how will you ever come here? So you've already told me if it is less, if it is greater, return, or if it is less, return. Then how will I ever come to this statement? I'll never come to this statement. And that's what it was saying, unreachable statement. Makes sense. So I commented it out and this will work. It will return a true or a false. So once you know the ternary operator, it kind of makes your life a little simple, I think. If it doesn't make your life simple, forget about it. Do it in your second course, do it in your third course, but you will use it. So try this, this will happen. So let's comment out all the extra ones that we have now because we know they're all working. So I'm going to take all of this and comment them out. And again, commenting means you don't have to copy it. I'm commenting it out, right? I'll comment out this one also. I'll comment out this one also. So now my answers should be neat. And we'll compile it unless I've made a mistake. No, we are good. Because you can always make mistakes while you're typing. Okay, so student number and 66. There. That's my output. Looks neat enough? Yeah, I see a line is missing at the end. We'll do that. No big deal. But otherwise, it looks neat. And again, I said you could put your headings towards the left. All you have to do is minus 20s and it will go to the left if that's what you like. There, complete, right? But one major method is left. But complete in the sense that I've taught you everything that you will require for your assignment. I've taught you types, I've taught you while, I've taught you do while, if statements, ternary operator if you want to, validating your input, everything that I've asked has been explained here, except that character reading. I'll avoid it for today just because it's a little bit of time consuming. Okay, we'll do it afterwards and that's okay. I'll take it. I'll understand it. It's no big deal. Now that it has been pointed out to me, maybe I wouldn't. Let's complete this method now. We are at 10:18. We should be able to finish this. This is our last method. The return type is character. And it is calculating your grade based on your input. We'll have to change this to byte. Oh, and the comments are missing, but that's okay. We didn't comment it yet. So let's comment it. What does this method do? This method assigns and returns the grade based on the final mark. That's what it does. Oh God, how many did? It assigns, or you can only say returns. You don't have to. Returns the grade of the student based on the final mark. Okay, so do you have an input? Yes, you have a param. I think commenting it this way makes it easier to comment. When you're like, you have it in front of your eyes. But again, I'm not saying anything that you have to give me Java doc documentation. This line is good enough for this method. That's all I need. Okay, so what's the param? This is the param. What is it? It's the student's final mark in the course. Right? And does it return anything? Yes, it returns what? It returns the grade. And you can be specific. The grades are A to F. A, comma B, comma C, comma D, comma E. F is fail, but that's okay. There. So commenting is a must. It's a must in your life. It is a must in any programmer's life. Okay. Now that looks like a lot of ifs. We've only done an if else, but that's a lot of if. Now my aim is to show you this. How do you write nested ifs? Right. So let me show you how you write nested ifs. So I've written it in English to tell you what the grades are, but this is not. I won't write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 independent ifs. Why? Because if the mark is greater than 90, do I need to check whether it is between 70 to 80 or 50 to 60 or no? It has only to be checked once. It can either be greater than 90 or between 80 to 89 or between 70 to 79 or between 60 to 69 or less than 60. It can only be one of them. It can't be, or you'll say, I'll check this and I will also check this and I will also, doesn't make sense. So where do I use independent if statements or where do I use nested if statements is important. Here you need nesting. If the number is already greater than 90, where lies the need to check whether it is between 80 to 89? Right? Make sense? So let's write it. Let's write it now. So I've written it in English so that you kind of understand what I'm doing, and then I'm converting it into Java now. Okay, so if your mark, and you've called it student final mark, in the parameter, I don't care what you called it in your main method. If it is greater than or equal to 90, now again, there are so many constants here, 90, 80, 89, 70, 79, 60, 69, 60, but they should all be constants. At the end of the day, you have to only type it once, but they are in operation for all software to live. Okay. So college changes its mind. It says, oh, less than 50 is now an F. They have to do is go up and change that constant and the work is done. They don't have to look in the code and, oh, where is that magic number 60? I have to change it to 50. Above 95 is a, where do I have to change it? So you can call it grade A constant, grade B constant, something like that. Whatever will make sense. I know there are a lot of constants, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 constants, but that's how it is. Okay, so I'll write it first this way, and then at least I'm trying to make the logic in your head. Okay, so if the mark is greater than or equal to 90, what do you want to do? You want to return. You can start writing returns here itself, or you can take a local variable if it makes sense to you. You can take a local variable here, call it grade, because it really doesn't matter. It's not anywhere in my parameter list. And to begin with, if you want, you can start with a blank. You don't have to initialize it at all, but it's okay. It's not necessary. Okay, so if the grade is greater than or equal to 90, what do you want to assign to grade? You want to assign A to the grade. A character variable is assigned using single quotes, not double quotes. Double quotes is for strings, single quote is for character. Right? If I make it double quotes, I'm going to get an error because it will say that grade is a character variable. Come on, say it there. It says grade is a character variable. Okay, so character variables have to go into single quotes. Okay, so that's condition number 1. Else, so let me kind of, why doesn't it like this? Oh, it doesn't like brackets, Python. Anyway, here. It still doesn't like something. What doesn't it like? Empty character literal. So what's wrong in that? Assigning an empty literal is okay. That's strange. Why doesn't it assign? Let me assign an empty literal. Yeah, but that will work for sure. But even if I don't want to assign it something, I should be okay. Like, yeah, space means it's empty, but this one says, maybe it doesn't, it says, oh, it means nothing. So why are you doing it? Right? It means nothing. So why are you doing it? Okay, I won't even do it. I don't have to do it. So I'll kind of keep away from it. Okay, now let's do this. Here. Now what doesn't it like? So I did put brackets and I thought maybe it was in Python that it wanted it and that's why it's complaining. It was of the grade it was complaining maybe. Okay, here. Now let's go, and spelling of grade is wrong. At least that I know what is wrong. Okay, else. So what I'm writing now is, now in else there is another if. Because I haven't yet, there are so many ifs I have to check. So the else has another if inside it. Now there are 2 ways of writing it. Some people, some programmers will write the if statement right here. And some will write the if in the next line to kind of say, oh, this is the if inside the else. It's your own preference. If I do it this way, then my indentation will keep on increasing. So my if will be kind of skewed. If I write the if with the else, it's kind of in the same line. So I'll write both for you. It's just a writing way, nothing else. Okay. Okay. So if the mark is greater than or equal to 90, then the grade is A. Else, but there is not Only an else. Now else, if the grade is between 80 and 89, do I need a compound condition? Is the biggest question. Do I need to only say greater than or equal to 80, or do I also want to say and less than or equal to 89? Let's talk about this first. So some people will kind of write it this way, okay? So this way the indentation kind of goes skewed. So I'll write it for you, and then so the third else will have an if inside it. So it kind of becomes more and more indented. And notice I'm not putting brackets anywhere, but of course, if you want to, you can. Each of my if and else only has a statement inside it. You'll say, but that other second else has more than one statement. But remember, if is a single statement. If is a statement. It's not if condition and getting something then is a statement. It's not two lines. We're not talking lines, we're talking statement. Okay? So if you want to, sure, it just makes it, if it makes it clear to you, you can do that. You can say, if that's my first if, so I'll put it this way. Sure, it's up to you. Here, your first if has ended. Else, I want to start again. And then my else will end somewhere here. So now I'll have to kind of take care else one, else two, and so on. This else also you can put it in brackets. And there will be another else here. Very quickly, you will kind of, I mean, that's okay if you want to do it that way. When I have a single statement, I don't put brackets because it makes it more clear. Anyway, now let's discuss this before I go further, even if I go further. Then I have to check between 70 to 79, then 60 to 69, and so on. Right? So I'll take this statement from here. So 80 to 89. And then it comes the next one. And in this case, the grade is C. And there is an else here. So if you want, you can start putting your opening and closing brackets straight away. And that way you will not lose them. And then you have to be careful. This else is with this one. This else is with this one. This else is with this one. So you'll have to kind of be careful of where you are going, okay? Which is fine, but I just want you to know. It's up to you. Opening and closing. Okay, so now what's the else? Third one. So 80 to 89, then 70 to 79. It's giving me red squigglies, maybe because I haven't yet completed it. Okay, there. That's my third one. Now there is another else and there is an if inside it. Don't take it to heart. It's not a big deal. The next is 60 to 69. Uh-oh. Greater than or equal to 80 and less than or equal to 89. Greater than or equal to 70 and less than or equal to 79. Greater than or equal to 60 and less than or equal to 69. And the grade in that case is tab is a D. There is still an E coming, guys. There is an else, an opening and a closing, and put the else. And that else is a part of this if. So I'm indenting it so that you can see. What was the next one? 60 to 69 is a D. Oh, then there is only one left, less than 60. So I don't have to put anything. You just have to put the grade. That's the only other option. There. Okay. Now let's look at this. Okay, so what did I do? I said if the mark is greater than 90, it's an A. Between 80 to 89, it's a B. 70 to 79, it's a C. 60 to 69, it's a D. And less than 60, it's an F. Okay, let's see what I did. So I started with the first if. I said if the mark is greater than or equal to 90, grade is A. Else, I started a new else. And inside that else, I had an opening bracket and it should show me the closing bracket. In BlueJ, if you kind of highlight it, it will show it its partner. Okay, all IDs will show it. Else, if the student final mark is between 80 and it is less than 89, why is it giving me those errors? Where is the semicolon expected? Oh, the brackets are missing. And again, you don't have to put them, and is okay. Relational operator has, I think, higher precedence. Why put extra brackets if they are not needed? Anyway, this is going to change. Okay, there. No red squigglies now. Okay, now let's look at it one by one. Okay, let's see where we can improve. So this is one way of writing nested ifs. So in the beginning, when you start learning nested ifs, if inside an if inside an if, or if inside an else, you kind of write it this way because it makes it clear in your head. Once you know what you're doing, you can compact it, and I'll show you the compact form. Let's look at the logic first. If the student mark is greater than or equal to 90, it's an A. Everybody agrees? Yes. Job done. So at the end of the day, remember to return the grade. Right? Remember to return the grade. Has started again. So I'm missing something somewhere again. God help me. What am I missing now? As soon as I put a return grade, it started with the, oh, you know what it will do? Extra there. Okay, there. Oh, okay. So if the grade final mark is greater than 90, grade is A. Job done. Else, I have to do something else. So I start with an else and I put it inside this, everything else inside the else body. Now everything inside the else body, I check again. If the mark is greater than or equal to 80 and should be less than 89, the grade is B. We all agree. Else, I again start and do something else. So notice how I'm putting my opening and closing so that it's just easier to say what's in the else. Then I go in again. I say, are you between 70 and 79? I again see an error here because that's an extra one. The grade is C. Makes sense? Else, I have something else to do. I have, if it is between 60 to 69, it's a D, as the grade is F. This is an example of a nested if statement. This is called a nested if. If inside if inside if. You'll say, till what level can I go on? There's no limit. Right? Now, my question to you is this, logically thinking. I have already checked that the mark is greater than 90. And if it is greater than 90 and my job is done, does it make sense in checking that it is less than 89? No, because I've already checked if it is greater than 90. Why would I check this? If it is greater than or equal to 90, I'm already out. If it is less than 90 and greater than 80, I have a B. Why should I put the extra condition and less than 89? So again, it is not incorrect. It will run, but it has extra code. So you don't use individual ifs is your first thing to remember. You have to use a nested if. Why? Though I've written them as individual ifs for your information. FYI, do not use individual ifs. Why? Because the conditions are mutually exclusive. They cannot happen together. That's what mutually exclusive means. Cannot happen together. You understand what do I mean by cannot happen together? If the mark is 90, it is an A. It cannot be A and a B or a C. It's mutually exclusive. So don't use individual ifs. Don't write if mark is this as 5 or 6, 5 individual if statements. That's a bad way. You don't even know what you're doing. Right? So you're going to lose marks. Now here, my second question from you is, I've already checked it is greater than or equal to 90. What is the sense of now checking it is between 80 to 89? If I remove this condition for a minute, think about it. If I remove this condition for a minute, doesn't it automatically means it is between 80 and 89? Why? Because I only came to this else if it was less than 90. I only came to this else if the mark was less than 90. If it is less than 90 and greater than 80, automatically it is between 80 to 89. So why should I write an and with it? If it is not greater than 80, but it is greater than 70, it is automatically less than 80. So why should I check this condition? I don't need the and. And similarly here. So I have reduced my code and made it more efficient, because it doesn't make sense if you're not more than 90, your next group is 80 to 89 automatically. So you go above 90, then 80, then 70, then 60, and then fail. If you mess up, if you want to write them in any order, then of course you have to give both conditions. But I am writing it in an order which makes it, oh, not 90, then you should be in the next block. Then you should be in the next block. Then you should be in the next block. But you say, oh, I don't like the sequence. I want to check 60 to 69 first. Then I want to check 70 to 79. Then I want, but if you want to do that, then you have to put your conditions completely. But we want to learn to write it efficiently. So it's not your choice. Oh, I don't like it. It's learning how to code, right? So the best way of learning to code is, if you have some conditions which are mutually exclusive, think of how will you write the conditions. I'll check the topmost. If you're above that, job done. I don't even have to check the others. If you're not in that first quota, go to the second one. If you're not in the second block, go to the third one. Not in the third, go to the fourth. Not in the fourth, go. And you're descending. If you had written this if opposite, then you would have to say if less than 60, then a fail, F. If 60 to 69, then you have to write it more vigorously. Why would I do that? Right? And it is all a thinking process. It has to start here. So instead, I could have said, oh, less than 60 is an F, between 60 to 69, then I have to write all my conditions, 60 and 69, because less than 60 doesn't mean the next group is till 69. It just says it is more than 60, but less than what? Here it automatically means if it is not more than 90 or equal to 90, it is less than 90. If it is not more than 80, it is less than 80. If it is not more than 70, it is less than 70. But if you change your mind for whatever reason and you reverse the whole process, you will first want to do this, then this, then this, then this, and at last that, then you'll have to use compound conditions. Try writing it the opposite way. Try first calculating the grade of F, then E, then D, then C, then B, then F. You'll have to write all conditions. This is a nested if. Right? Now, as I said, if you don't want to kind of put your opening closing brackets, kind of think about it. What does this else have? It only has one if statement inside it. This is one statement. If else is a single statement. I don't need brackets. What does this else have inside it? One if else. I don't need brackets. What does this else have inside? One if else. I don't need brackets. I don't need any of these brackets. If else is a single statement. If this, do this, else do this. It's a single statement. So I don't need any of these brackets at all. So a line doesn't mean a statement. That is a line also, and that is a statement also. But those are three lines, but a single statement. If else is a statement. So when I say you don't need brackets, you don't need brackets if you have a single statement inside the if body. So single statement doesn't mean one line. Single statement could be if else. It's a single statement. It's a complete statement. Only if is also a statement. If else is also a statement. So try removing all brackets and it will still work. But putting it this way was just to try to make it clear in your head. Do this, else do this. Do this, else do this. And that's what I've been doing here, right? Let's see if it works first. Then I can, maybe not today, but then we can make it a little neater next time or whenever. Okay, so this is the grade that was calculated. Just add it to your, just call it in your main. There, you've already calculated the grade. Pass the grade also to your display. You calculated, uncommented, we commented it, right? Display student information, pass grade to it. A fourth parameter has gone, come down. So make these changes, please, quickly. Pass the grade also to display information and then go down. Add that fifth parameter to here. What is its type? Character. Call it whatever you like and print it out like your printf. So where should I put it? Here, let's put it here so that I'm not kind of, what is grade? A character. Character. Percentage C? I don't know. I think so. Looks like. Could be percentage C. I could be wrong. But let's try that. This is your grade. And this is your grade. It will show the student number, the final mark, the grade, and then the status. Okay. So grade came in, I printed it out. I'm assuming it's Control C. Looks like, I could be wrong, but we'll only know when I do it. So I've added it. Let's see if that method is working. That's the main aim. Is the method working? Okay, let's try it. So let's compile it first. Okay, no errors. Let's go back. Terminal is clean. Right click. Now I would have liked to put it in a for loop so that I can run it more than once. But anyway, here. So let's give the person 90. What is the enter? 96. Is a pass and grade is a working, right? Okay, let's try to run it again. Clear it. Run it again. So I'm just doing all categories, okay? You should actually also check the extremes, 80 and 89. Okay, so 90 and above is gone. Let's try to give an 80. That's a B, right? So I've checked the extreme conditions also. You should check 80, 89, 90, 99, 100, and so on. And we've already checked, can go beyond 100, okay? B is working. C was 70 to 79. Let's do a 79. That's a C. Working. A D now, 60 to 69. Working. And then an F, which was actually also your grade. You can avoid it actually now because we've written fail. But anyway, the grade has still to be given. Less than 60. There. So it works. And it's just a nested if statement, guys. It's not a big deal. It's a big deal because you're doing it for the first time. That's why it's a big deal. But all I've done is, and as I said, remove all your brackets, condense it, and it will look smaller and neater. It will look smaller and neater. So I can pick all of these that I just did with you. Oh God, where have I reached? Okay, I'm not doing that. Final mark, get student mark. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Check status there. Okay, I'll pick it up from here. I'll make a copy. I'll remove all the brackets and I'll condense it. And the condensation is like this. Remove, remove. Bring your condition here. Maybe it will be easy to. You can read it this way, right? You can kind of write it this way. Remove. 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 And when you write it this way, it kind of becomes neater. I mean, I don't know. It really depends. I can't say it becomes neater. Maybe it's not neat for you. It is okay. It is taking less space, but it's kind of also, as I said, to me it's neater because I've done it so many times. To you, it may not be as there. Much neater. Maybe more readable also. But the aim is what I was doing was if this, else do the rest. If this, else do the rest. If this, else do the rest. But that's a neater form. And that is still a nested if. And notice I've removed all brackets because there is only a single, else has only a single statement inside it. The else has only a single statement inside it. Else only has a single statement inside it. Else only has a single statement inside it. And it will still work. So if I take this, I have 3 minutes, guys. Okay, so stop packing your bags and comment this. How long does it take? There. Okay. Just I'll prove it only once that it works. And then I'll let you go. See, it's giving me no compilation errors. That means my brackets are okay. Everything is okay. Let's give the person a 95. There. If A works, B should also work. You should never say it should, but you should never ever say it will work. It should always be checked, but I'm hoping that will be okay. 84 should be a B. 75 should be a C. 62, 69 should be a D. And lastly, it should be an F. There. That takes care of your program. And you don't need anything else except now that you've mentioned it, one of the students has mentioned it, the reading of character may cause problems. Leave it alone, take it as a string. I'll bypass it. I won't say anything in my, no, I should, because the Monday section doesn't know about it, poor guys. I'll announce it just so that if you can't use a character, take a string and I won't dock off marks. Okay? If you can think of it, good, I'll give you bonus marks. I'll do it that way. Okay? If you know how to deal with reading a character, I'll give bonus marks for it. But I'll put up an announcement, and that's what I mean. The gender should be a character, but if you cannot handle it reading, make it a string and work with it. Okay? I'll put that announcement. Hopefully that will make sense. Okay, guys, thank you. This is going back on Blackboard under week 7. I'll see you in another hour. $10:47. Okay, it's on Blackboard.
So we're still on for tomorrow to write those two makeup quizzes, the in-class ones.
Which two quizzes? Oh, yeah. You were coming to me on Wednesday to do it. Yeah, we are.
Okay, awesome. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, sure. Hello.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Tired already.
Tired already.
3 hours out.
Uh-oh.
It's too much, right? Oh well.
I know that.